Hello friends and welcome to Edupedia World Videos. This is the course Basics of Programming in C language, and in this video we will be using loops to store values inside an array. So we have covered arrays earlier and we have also covered loops. So earlier we knew that array is a container that can contain multiple values of the same data type, and we knew that we can access the array using indexes, but we never knew that what is the most efficient way of dealing with arrays, because we did not learn loops at that time. Now we have learned loops, so we will now dive in detail into how you can use loops to efficiently use arrays in your programs. So the objective of this particular program is that we will take the roll numbers of 10 students as an input from the user and store the result inside an array, and ultimately we will display that roll number list at the end of the program. So let us try and implement this code. First thing is that we have to take an array, and it says that we have to take an array for 10 roll numbers. So roll numbers will be integer, so int array will be there. You can name the array as roll number, and its length should be how much? 10, because we have to store 10 numbers. So now what we have to do is we have to include a loop counter. We have to take a loop counter. So let us take it as count. Now we have to start our loop. So we will be using for loop for this kind of thing, because we have to increment also, and then we have to check the condition also. So all the things in a for loop can be given in a single line. So count equal to 0, although we have already initialized, but anyways. So count less than how much? 10. So the number of students is 10. So what we can do is, so as a good programming practice, we can have a macro, a hash defined macro, which will be number of students, or we can write in a short form num students. So this will contain the number of students. We will initialize it by 10. So the same macro we can now use wherever we have to write number of students. So this will have multiple benefits. One thing is that it will make our program more readable. So the user will otherwise user might not know what is 10, but yes, now user can read, num students, it is number of students. So it will be more clear to whosoever reads your program. Further, second benefit is, suppose now you have to increase the number of students to 20. Some requirement has come and you have to increase this value number of students. If you had not taken this macro, what you would have had to do is first change the value over here to 20, then change the value over here to 20, and suppose it is a long code of thousands of lines, then you might have to change the value in hundreds of lines. But here in this case you only have to change the value over here to 20, and your program will work, because you have used num students, you have changed the value of macro num students to 20, so it will work. So this is the benefit of macros. So right now we have taken it as 10, and we have used that same macro over here. At the end we have to do count plus plus. So now we have to tell the user to enter the roll number of the first student. So we can write it this way: please enter the roll number of student colon, and after that we can give the %d, which is format specifier for integer variables, and we can give the count. So it will print please enter the roll number of the student 0 first, because our count is initializing from 0, so we should initialize it from 1, and it should be less than equal to number of the students. This we have also discussed earlier while discussing about loops, and while discussing about logical operators, logical and relational operators, that less than equal to means that our loop will run from till the value of count becomes equal to num students. So till it becomes 10, it will run till that time. From 1, so it will run for total of 10 students. So we now have to take the input. So how to take the input? scanf is the statement that we use. Then we give the format specifier for the variable, which is integer variable, so we will give %d. Now we will give the address of the variable. Okay, address of and variable. So what is our variable? Our variable is actually an array, so it is roll number, and we have to also give the index of this array. So we'll give roll number, and in brackets, square brackets, we have to give the index. Now our index will be our count. Here our program, we have to remember one thing, that array indices are from 0. They begin from 0 to n minus 1, where n is the size of the array. So here our loop counter is beginning from 1 to the size of the array, but we should begin the array indices from 0. So what we can do is we can subtract 1 from the index over here, so that our array indices are matched properly. Okay, so at the 0th index our first element will be there. So this is how we do that. Another option is that you take the size of the array as num students plus 1. Okay, and then you can use count straight away here. So first student's roll number will be stored at the first index instead of 0 index. 0th index will get wasted in that case. So we generally don't want any memory to get wasted, because it is not a good practice to create optimized codes. Although in small programs it might not matter, but in larger and memory savvy programs it does matter. So as a good practice, this is the best thing to do. Take the index while passing as count minus 1. Okay, so we will take this as an input, and again we should have a new line over there, because second time when this loop will execute and this particular line will execute, so we have to print this statement at the next line instead of this same line. Okay, now we have taken the input, so all our arrays store roll numbers will be taken care of. Now what we have to do is we have to print the same roll numbers. So to print the list, we have to take the loop which would be similar to the one we have taken to scan the roll numbers to take the input. Okay, so everything would be same, just the thing that we have to print the roll number, so that will be different. The statement for printf will be different. So just okay, I'll just write the statement again. Printf the roll number of the student %d is %d. So how will we print it? Instead of first %d, we want to print our loop counter itself. So we'll print count, and instead of second %d, we'll want to print the roll number. We'll print roll number, and we'll pass the index to the array. And here again, you have to remember that we have to pass the index as 1 minus the count, so that we actually access the right position. For the first student, we will access the count minus 1, that is 0th index, because count will be 1 for the first time, and we have to access the 0th position. Okay, so that is why it is count minus 1. For the second student, the count will be 2, but we have to access the second position. Okay, so that will be count minus 1, that is 2 minus 1, that will be 1. Okay, so that is fine. So this code should now do fine. I'll just switch the perspective so as the messages are also available. I'll save the code and then build the code. Let us see if it gets built or not. Okay, so it has built with 0 errors and 0 warnings. So now let us try and execute this code. Okay, before execution we have forgotten one thing, that is while printing the statements we should also have a new line, because otherwise it will print everything in a single line. Okay, so a new line is given by the \n, which is escape sequence for new line character. Now you can first save your code and then build it and then execute it. Okay, so it is asking for the roll number of student 1. So we'll input the roll number. Now see, we have not put any right, rather we should have put this colon after this %d. So let us correct that first. Okay, this colon should have come after %d. So that will make it more legible. Save it, compile it, and run it. Okay, now it is clear. Enter the roll number of student 1. So the roll number of student 1 is say 101. Similar 1001, 1002. So I will enter all the roll numbers. Okay, and the last roll number would be 1010. As soon as I will press enter, it will then print the result. Okay, so the result is printed. So now we have learned how to access the array index by index using loops. Okay, so I will just give you a small revision of it, small overview again. So how we have done that. First of all, we have taken a loop counter. Okay, this loop counter, what is its uses? It will serve as an index to access various elements in an array. So now in an array the elements are stored serially. Okay, first element is at the 0th index, so its index begin at 0. First element is at the 0th index, second is at the first index, third is at the second index, and so on till the size of the array -1. If the size of array is n, it will be from 0 to n minus 1. If the size of array is 10, it will be from 0 to 9. So 10 elements will be accommodated from 0 to 9th index. Okay, so how to access it? We have taken a loop over here. The loop variable starts from 1 to less than equal to your size of the array. So 1 to size of the array, if we are extending, the index that we will have to pass is 1 minus loop variable, because our actual array indexes will begin from 0 and extend till num students -1. So that is why we have passed count -1 over here. So what we do to access is we just have to pass the index. Now our indexes are generated by our loop variable itself. Okay, so our loop takes care of incrementing the indexes, and we have passed the index as loop variable -1. So this loop, first loop we will use for reading the input from the user, and second loop we will use for printing the output to the user. So that is how our code works. First we take input one by one and we keep on storing it at incremented indexes of the array, and then we start printing from 1 again. That means count -1, which will be 0. So we start printing from 0 again and start incrementing the index one by one till we cover the total number of students. Okay, so that is how this program works, and I hope this small program was clear to you and you have understood how you can use single dimensional arrays with loops. Okay, now in our next program what we will do is we will try and do the same thing for multi-dimensional arrays. Okay, so thanks for watching this video and continue to watch the course Basics of Programming in C language.